Hello everyone, my name is Grace Ford, and this semester I've been working really hard with my mentor Kara Firestone to prepare for my career in voiceover. I wanted to take you through my process to show you what it was like and how I did everything. Just a little overview, first of all. First, I want to look at my research. How did I come up with all of the ideas that ended up being in the final product? Next, I'll look at development, where I moved from planning to actively creating, and then I'll show you my results. So first was finding my brand. This was where I did all of my research, where I looked at website design, actor biographies, and examples of demos. So, of course, I started with a spreadsheet. Who doesn't love a good spreadsheet? This is where I gathered all of these amazing examples plus more of current actors in the industry and what their websites look like. I also used this time to identify what about these things I liked or disliked. If there was something I particularly liked about a website, I highlighted that name in green, and if there was something that didn't really work for me and my brand, I would highlight it in red. So when looking at examples, I looked at colors, spacing, fonts, length of a website, and many other aspects of a website. I looked at Alice Everdeen, for example, as something I really wanted to emulate. I loved the colors and the sleekness, but in other websites, I realized I really want to avoid blocks of text. None of these choices are particularly right or wrong, it's all very subjective, but I realized this isn't what's going to work for me and how I want to present myself. Next, I looked at actors' bios. All these are very personal, they're very individual. So I primarily looked at the length of an actor bio and what they highlighted about themselves. So how long is it? How does the language that they use support their brand? And what is ultimately my takeaway? What is the reader's takeaway when reading this bio for the first time? Some were more simple, like the one at the top. Others went for a more friendly approach, starting with, "Hello, thanks for stopping by." And others really focused on the achievements that they've had over the years. Finally, I looked at demos and reels. How are all of these demos framed? How does it look? How many are there? What are the different genres of demos? Is it audio only, or did they make a demo reel as a video? All of these things I have to take into account when deciding how do I want to present myself. So now that I have an idea of what a voiceover brand can look like, it was time to apply that knowledge and build my own brand. I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to build a brand with a very welcoming spirit involved. I used bright colors to show my personality. I decided I wanted to use a shorter website to make it accessible for busy clients and to get straight to the point, no fluff necessary. I made the text spaced out so it was easy to read. I made a lot of the text bold so it was easy to identify what exactly you're looking at, and then you can look at the finer details. And then finally, I chose the font Helvetica just to keep things simple yet sleek. Next is a more direct intro to the actor, which I found was made with two key components, a biography and descriptive words. The biography really highlights the working experience, what it's going to be like to work with me. Also, what knowledge do I have? What skills do I specifically have? What do I bring to the table? Whereas descriptive words really highlight the sound of my voice and what energy I can bring to a character or to a script. When these are done well, they both highlight my personality as well. So this is what I ended up coming up with for those two things. For my bio, I wrote, "Grace is a non-binary voice actor based in Texas, specializing in animation, video games, and narration, aimed at teens and young adults. Their interests include mental health, queer and disability activism, neurodiversity, relationship health, saying no to diet culture but not no to ice cream, and the art of storytelling through playwriting and video games. Currently, I'm loving the video game Celeste, but ask again tomorrow, it always changes. They've moved on from their pursuit of becoming an idol dancer at Vocaloid conventions to be an even bigger nerd behind the mic. This really breaks down into a few key points. First, I talk about what I do. I specialize in animation, video games, and narration with a very specific target audience. When looking at voice acting, you really want to emphasize your interests, because the things that you're interested in, your interest is going to come across in the recording. And finally, I implemented some humor and relatability through vulnerability, through my willingness to put myself out there and just say like, hey, yeah, I'm a nerd, just like you probably. Clients and audiences should feel comfortable hearing my voice and working with me. So what better way to do that than through vulnerability? And then for my 3 descriptive words, I decided to use clear, youthful, and endearing. This highlights the clear sound of my voice, as opposed to a more breathy or gruff sound of voice, as well as what kind of character I can bring to life, and with what energy. This was a fun step, finding my scripts. Because I am incredibly anxious all the time, I asked the question, how do you find scripts when you are scared of incredibly unlikely lawsuits? You write your own, of course. By the way, my mentor was not worried about this. It's very common for voice actors to use an already written script for their demos, especially early in their career. But it was too late, I was already writing. So here's what I got. So I went about this with a few key inspirations. Character archetypes. One of my demos that I included is more of a voice of reason character. So think like the Spock to your Captain Kirk, with a little bit of Bones' sass. I also looked at my surroundings. I have a little friend here. When I started writing my scripts, I was just looking for any place to start. Saw this little guy in my room. It was a gift from a friend. Decided, yeah, why not? Let's write a little hedgehog character. This will come back later, remember this. And then finally, hello. Finally, when my mentor convinced me that I'm not going to get sued, I went ahead and supported my local library and used Libby. Just used a sample from a book I found on Libby. So, next is my recording sessions. Once the scripts were written, it was time for the acting part of voice acting. Sometimes the acting in voice acting can be a little subtle.
To young people reading this book, do not be self-centered, dramatic, or throwing things out of proportion when you think, whoa, this all feels like a lot.
Very simple, you just want it to sound like you're talking to a friend. Other times, we got a little bit more silly with it.
This berry blend has garbage leak. I wonder if I can use this to sample. Well, only one way to find out. Down the hatch.
So if you've ever wondered what a voice actor looks like while they're recording an animated hedgehog, that's what. So I've been talking for a long time. Are you guys ready just to see the final result? Presenting for the first time, GraceForwardVoiceover.com. This website is currently live, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tour. So first of all, we open, it's me. Hi, hello there, nice to meet ya. We have my 3 words right here, and you can click right here to see my work. This will take you down the screen to my demos, and I will give you a little taste of that hedgehog we were talking about earlier.
I'm late. Number 6. Yoda's gonna be so bad at me. Do you think I'll be able to make it to a performance? I need now. I can still make it to the main act. Oh, gotta go. one who's gotta keep me awake. I wonder if I can use this to stay up all day. Oh, only one way to find out. Down the hatch.
Gotta get that slurp sound effect in there. And this is compared to, say, an e-learning course.
The first step to becoming an ally to transgender and non-binary people is to learn more. So thank you for taking that step with us. We want to help you begin your education on the basics of gender identity. In this support guide, you'll learn a few things. The difference between sex and gender, the basics of gender identity versus gender expression, forms of address that show respect, helpful tips to increase understanding, and how to handle common mistakes. Look, exploring gender can be daunting, but it's also a really exciting way to learn about yourself and to express yourself to the world. By learning to support transgender and non-binary people, you can help to create a safer, kinder, and more accepting world. Ready to learn more? Awesome, let's get started.
All of my other demos are, of course, available on my website to look at anytime. Oh, hello. But let's move on. Here's my About page that I showed you guys earlier with a couple of more pictures to really show you that nice bright smile. And then, what if you are a client and you're like, hey, I want to hire this person maybe. Maybe I want them to audition for something. We can go down to the contact form below. My email, Instagram, and YouTube, all affiliated with my voiceover career, are all linked right here. And if you have a business inquiry, have any questions, or just want to ask what I would be if I were a tropical fruit, you can also fill out this form. So to wrap up, my biggest lesson that I learned throughout this entire project is that this will never fully be complete. And that's a good thing. Voices, people, audiences are constantly evolving. It wouldn't be effective if I didn't evolve with it. What works now for me, what characters I go for, may not be what I go for later in life. But at the same time, what I go for later in life might not work for me now. And that's okay, and that's good. You need to be flexible. So, with that being said, if you want to follow along with my journey, here's where you can find me. My Instagram is gracefordvo, same as my YouTube. If you want to send me an email, gracefordvo@gmail.com. And again, the website is gracefordvoiceover.com. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much to my mentor, Kara, for her guidance and encouragement. And by the way, she surprised me earlier today. She surprised me before my presentation and made me a little Hallie the Hedgehog. She's so wonderful. Kara, I love you so much. And thank you so much for joining me today as I launch my voiceover career. It means so much to me. And enjoy the other presentations today. Thank you so much, y'all.
So I remember it all started here, right? Well, launching your career here. So questions for Grace?
So this is about expanding your voice acting career, but what made you decide to become a voice actor in the first place?
That's a great question. So many things. I grew up being a theater kid. I just was always drawn to being on stage and telling stories. My mom is nodding her head right now. But I've also always loved animation and video games, in particular as a storytelling method, as a storytelling medium. Those kinds of mediums, you can really do something that you might not necessarily be able to do in live action film or on stage. So I just really like being fun and wacky with it while still being true to my roots as a theater kid. Yeah.
What would you be if you were a tropical fruit?
You beat Braun to it. The answer is Mango. I was given the middle school nickname Mango. Why, you ask? Nobody knows, not even the person who came up with the nickname. We just decided one day that I was Mango. So, there you go.
Do you have some voiceover heroes?
Ooh, that's a good question. Tara Strong, of course. Basically just anybody you would hear in like a 90s Nickelodeon cartoon. Who else? There's so many voice actors in video games that I'm still learning about. Kieran Reagan. They are a voice actor who I audited a class from last summer, and they were super, super sweet. So I really just admired that work ethic. You can hear Kieran Reagan as the voice of Sonic Drive-In. So if you heard those commercials, I audited a class from that person. Yeah.
Are there other St. Edward's alumni who are in this field that you have some kind of a mechanism for connecting with?
I do through the theater department here at St. Ed's, because they stay in contact with so many people. And also on LinkedIn, I can find those connections to see who is an alum who markets himself as a voice actor. And then, of course, my mentor is an active voice actor in the industry doing audiobooks. So, hi, Kara, love you.
Any more questions? Okay, Kim, you want to come up and say a few words?
So I can answer the wonderful thing about being a voice actor. You go to work in your pajamas. On your schedule, on your time, in your pajamas. This has been a joy for me. Grace had to ask me about, 5 times, 6 times to do this. Because I'd never done it before, and I didn't know what it was to be a mentor. And what was explained to me is that this was yours, and I was simply along for the ride. This is not an easy thing to do.
No.
This is a very brave thing to do. To be honest about who you are, not only to yourself, but to be willing to share it. To be clear. To be specific. Grace's first vulnerability point was the fruit, by the way. The fruit. And once we got there, then we kept opening. But this is the 3 words Grace collected from other people. To ask other people to describe you is really brave work. And then to take yourself as a person and yet be willing to view it as a product. And to find that separation, which is a very important, healthy separation, which allows you to go forward in this, at the same time keeping your humor and your light involved in all of it. Your writing skills, your communication skills, your organization skills. These are all things that make you incredibly hireable, incredibly marketable. The hedgehog voice aside. And so it has, and I got to make a hedgehog.
It's so cute. I didn't know she was doing this.
So it has truly been a joy to see you launch it in public, to see you get to take something that can have a very private launch and launch it in public, and see the start of this, and for you to understand that this is the beginning of a chapter. This has truly been my privilege. Congratulations. These are for you. Congratulations on a beautiful, beautiful presentation.
Thank you so much.